I think it's about time we said hello to Jules.
Yeah, he's been waiting patiently. And so I'd like to welcome to the Carpcast another long-haired Yorkshireman, Julian Cundiff. How's it going, Jules?
Oh, it's great, mate. Another busy day at work, but got back here in time for you to do the Carpcast with me, as they say. I feel very modern nowadays. I've even got broadband.
I don't know how long they've had electric in Yorkshire, but
well, we haven't got gas, and we haven't got mains drains, so we have got broadband. So we are. It's not quite fully grim up north, but it is grim up north.
Yeah, it can be weather-wise mainly.
Yeah, gorgeous day today. I'll be out tomorrow doing some surface fishing after work. The conditions are perfect if they're not spawning. One or two lakes are closed down for spawning, which is quite right. But hopefully, maybe get a fish off the top tomorrow night, floater fishing.
Yeah. Maybe. Go on, Jamie.
I think we've got a heat wave coming this week. We've got a day of 35 degrees for Blackpool next week.
35 degrees. Just imagine how in hen parties are going to take advantage of that.
Oh yeah, they wear way less than what most of them should do anyway. So.
Yeah, I always think of it as trying to cram a pint into a half-pint pot.
Yeah. Except it'll be a rosy red from sunburnt shoulders.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we sat in Jules' carp office.
Yeah.
As we said before we started recording, I've always considered myself a bit of a carp geek, but I've been outdone well and truly.
Yeah, it's strange. I've been fishing since 1976. Carp fishing really since '83. But my mum was always an avid collector of things, and she didn't tell me to collect, but she always took pictures of everything, even on the 110 Instamatic cameras. And I guess I just picked it up. So when I was in the paper, my mum always kept the cuttings, or when I wrote something, I kept it. And I've got every single probably clipping that I've ever been in a magazine, probably since 1978. I just love the written word. I can understand where we are in the modern world, but I love the written world. So I've been in it, or I like it, I keep it. My room is just full of everything you can imagine. I just love the written word.
I have to say, you've been one of the most consistent writers since I was young. I remember reading the stuff in the Carp Fisher mags. That's what inspired me to one day want to write, and you're still doing it. I find it hard to keep the motivation going. To do like half a dozen articles a year, and you're a machine.
Yeah. Take it from me, you can't do it unless you enjoy it. You might be able to do it for 6 months, you might be able to do it for a year, you might even be able to do it for 2 years if it's your job. Number one, it's not my job. And number two, first proper carp article appeared in Carp Fisher in 1986, Who's Kidding Who? Now that's 30 years ago, and I ain't stopped writing since. You cannot con yourself to work like that unless you enjoy it. I absolutely guarantee you. Absolutely guarantee it. I just love the written word, and I like to think I've done my bit.
Yeah, you certainly helped me along. Remember what was it called? Your question and answer thing you used to do in carp.
Oh, crikey! Julian Cundiff's Carp Clinic and things like that. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I like to think maybe I have helped a generation or two of carp fishers, and I sometimes read about, this guy, he's my guru and my god and all that, and I think, well, it's all right being impressed by this guy who's caught these 40s and 50s and fishes full time, but the reality is, you've got to get there first. And I know a lot of lads who, literally have caught a few tench and then say, I want to be the next Terry Hearn, I want to be the next Dave Lane. It ain't going to happen, mate. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen without a grounding. And most of them just explode like fireworks. You cannot go. 99.9999% of people who want to be Terry and Dave Lane or whatever, having picked up Terry's book or Dave's book, are going to think it's simple. It ain't. It certainly is not like that at all.
Do you think it's as easy as getting the haircut?
I actually did have a haircut about, good grief, I had a haircut about a month ago, so that's quite good. It was. It takes me back to, obviously, as a legal advisor in the court, I'm pretty unusual, I'm pretty unique in the courts, in that everybody tends to look a certain way. And I remember way back in the 80s when my hair was maybe just a little bit longer, and my boss said to me, he says, "You're not going into court with hair like that, Julian." I thought, fantastic, 30 years of not having to work. And, you know, I've always tried to be me. I don't care what anybody else thinks about me, within reason. Obviously, I've got to do certain things within the course and within life, but generally I've not tried to be somebody else. I've not tried to be carpy or otherwise. I'm happy being me, and I never try and get anybody else to want to be me. I always try to be yourself. So yeah, I do stand out, and maybe I'm different to other people, but it's not because I want to be somebody else. I just want to be myself.
No, the opposite of the stereotype kind of carp look. You know, there used to be pictures of you in carp mags, oiled up with your top off and muscles out, Chippendale style. You know,
is that what attracted you to my writing first, Jamie? I'll send you one of those pictures, Jamie.
I've still got them on my wall.
I'd heard.
Were you actually in the Chippendales, or did you do some of that for a while?
No, not at all, mate. No, I mean, again, this is really funny. It's not actually to be funny. It's something that maybe will inspire people. As a kid, when I grew up, probably in the 70s, didn't have girlfriends. You know, for the obvious reason. Number one, I was quite a fat little kid. I liked fishing. My mum was a vicar, and I liked heavy rock. Now, if any four things were a deterrent to women, it was those four things. And, you know, it was great for fishing because you had absolutely no women interest whatsoever, guaranteed. So it really helped my fishing career. But as I got older, I realised, as I got older in years, that the only person that could change me, don't matter what anybody else writes, does, says to me, or I look at, the only person that can change me is me. So I thought, do you know what? I don't want to be fat forever. So I, started running. I started looking after myself. You know, I don't want to just read about other people. I want to write for myself. Well, I had to write for myself and take the refusal. So, you know, whoever you are, nobody else can do it for you. Be it catching carp, changing your looks, getting a job, achieving anything. You know, it's like you with your DJing. Nobody gets lucky like that. We all get breaks. Somebody throws us the ball, and then either we run with it or drop with it. So, yeah. No, I never was one of those. Anything I am is purely self-created by hard work.
It's a good bit of life philosophy there. I mean, an important lesson for me in life is as soon as you realise that nobody actually gives a damn about you except you. You're the only person. No one's going to look out for you. You're the only person that can direct the course of your life, you know. Yeah, other than obviously your mum, your mum and your dad have your best interests at heart, but they don't know you as well as you know yourself. So
yeah, I know it was. I mean, I remember as a kid, I was pretty protected as a kid. I had a great childhood, and I remember I was bright, but not that bright. And I was more interested in going to concerts, more interested in going fishing, as you do. And when it came to doing my O levels, I didn't really revise. And I remember getting like 6 D's, 2 B's, and a D was a failure. A C was a pass. A D was a failure. And I remember, I was in tears. And then my mum just said to me, "Whose fault is it?" She says, "You're better than that." And I thought, you know what? My mum can't pass my exams. No more than Terry Earn can put those fish on your hook. It's down to you. You can read every article from Terry Hearn. You can watch Thinking Tackle. You can watch the Nash DVDs. But at the end of the day, when you walk out that car in that car park, the only person that has the motivation to get up at 2:30 in the morning and recast is you. Terry can't do it for you. And so many people miss out on that. They actually think, I can read that book and I can do that. Once you walk on that bankside, it is a whole different ballgame. And that's just like life. It's there, but you have to do it.
Absolutely. Effort equals reward, and fishing's a very good example of that. Like you say, getting up at first light to put fresh baits on, or you have to do it. And or whatever is necessary. Might be waking up in the middle of the night to listen for fish boshing because you've not heard any in the daytime, or whatever it is. The more you put in, the more you get out with everything. And fishing's a pretty good example, I think.
Yeah, and sometimes effort doesn't even equal reward. So if you knew that you did something and you would, catch or something, that'd be great. And that's the hardest thing, or is it the greatest thing about carp fishing? If you go motor racing, you know that if you get in a certain car and you take so much wing off the rear, you will go 2 miles an hour faster down the straight, but you might not be so good around the curves. With carp fishing, it's not like that. I can have the best bait, the best effort, and I can be not on the fish. And the greatest thing, and probably the worst thing about carp fishing, is that sometimes effort doesn't always equal reward. It might take 2 sessions, it might take 3 sessions, it might take 3 years, and that is the greatest thing to me about carp fishing. There is no guarantees. That carp don't know you're Terry Earn, Dave Lane, Julian Cundiff, or Fred Bloggs. If you're in the wrong place, it don't matter whose ball is out there, you ain't going to catch.
Who was it who said, I remember this quote, the harder I try, the luckier I get?
Yeah, Tim Paisley has quoted that, and I think it relates to a golfer, if I think. I think it may be Jacqueline or somebody like that, but that actually, he may have pitched that off somebody else. But yeah, the harder I try, the luckier I get. That's Tim who's quoted it from a golfer, but I think it actually predates that.
Yeah, it's... Someone forgot to turn the phone off at Blackpool.
I put it on silent, and then I've got an alarm that goes off at the same time every night that I always forget about because I'm always in the middle of something when it goes off. But yeah, it's done now. Everything's on silent and off.
Excellent.
Yeah. I was going to say where I'm sat facing here, there's a picture of the 4 members of KISS. But then just to the other side is the decade fish from Nash's Church Lake.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of your most memorable captures. That one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I have written about this, but this was quite. That was quite an emotional fish. I remember my mum died, and at the time I dealt with it quite well. I thought I dealt with it quite well. I was very motivated to keep going, but it was like running through treacle, and you keep running, and I got slower and slower. And I remember going. I love my fishing. I'm as absolutely mad about fishing as anything else. And I remember going fishing to a place we call Jurassic Park. I got to this place and I was fishing, and the fish moved, and I wasn't on the fish. And one of my mates caught a couple of fish. He said, "Oh, you'd have to drop next to me." And I thought, I can't be bothered. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want to catch them. And I could not understand that, because normally I'd be dropping in, I'd be moving or whatever. And I remember, I think, God, what has happened here? And it was just obviously, having lost my mum, I was more interested in other things. And it was a bit of a lethargy, probably for a couple of months. And I remember one of my mates, Duff, who's the PR for KISS and people like that, and he'd been really, really kind to me. And it's like, when a guy's got you to meet KISS and Def Leppard and Slash, you think, what, how do you treat your mate who's done that for you? And Nash had been going on for years to me. He says, "You must come and fish Church Lake, Jules. You must fish Church Lake." And I walked round a Jamie was fishing once. And to be honest, they're great, the big fish. I didn't particularly want to do. I was quite happy with my fishing, etc. And I thought, do you know what? I'll take my mate Duff. He'd really love that, because he's a massive fan of Nashy. So I thought, take him. You'll have 3 days in the theatre of dreams, isn't it? It's like going to Old Trafford and have a kick around. So we went down there, and I tried my hardest. And I remember I just did everything I do, which I normally catch 17 to 30 pounders on. I did exactly the same things, getting up, moving, putting the baits in the edge, doing everything I did. And all of a sudden, this great big fish wallowed in the net, 49.6. And I just remember it was just like a weight was taken off my shoulders, and it was just... I didn't feel a weight taken off my shoulders to catch a big fish to prove anything, because I couldn't give a monkey what anybody thinks about my fishing. But it was just... I fell back in love with my fishing. It was just something I needed to get to spur me on, and it was a fantastic memory. And the fish is sadly gone now. But whenever I look at that, I always think that was I'd bottomed out, and everything else was better thereafter.
Yeah, I mean it's a moment of elation when you catch a big fish or a special fish. It's a natural high, isn't it? So if what a better time for it to happen, than the time of your life where you need picking up. So
yeah, I remember catching that fish, and I think up to then my best was probably mid-30s or something. Lake records for most lakes I've fished up here. I remember it going in the net, and Duff netted it, and I says, "Is it big, mate?" And I won't say what he said, but he said, "I have no idea." So we sort of got it in, and I looked at it, and I had absolutely no idea how big it is. And I rang Nashy up, and because he said, "Give me a ring if you get a big one." And I said, "I've got one, Kev, and it's a big." He says, "How big is it?" And I says, "Kev, it's somewhere between 30 and 60. And he went, "You northern," and I won't say the word, but it rhymed with runt. He says, "You've been far used to catching too many small fish, Jules. Do you not know how big it is?" And you know what? When he was as happy to see me catch that fish as I was to catch it, and it seemed to mean more to him. And many of the people who follow me on social media and all my friends, it meant as much to them as it did to me. And I thought, wow, this is what it's all about. And yeah, it was a real special time to do it in front of my mate Duff, Nashi there as well. It was really important. Not that it was 49.6, it could have been 39.6. It was just a moment in time that I'll never forget. And if I never catch a bigger fish, it matters not one jolt to me. Not one jolt at all.
Yeah, some catches are made better with the company you catch them in as well.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was just one of those awesome sessions.
Did Duff have any decent fish?
Yeah, to be fair to him, that first session, I think I had three. In fact, I had 3 or 4. They were all good 30s. And Duff, you know, he'd only been carp fishing probably a few years. And I remember he said to me, "I'm out my depth here. I'm definitely out my depth here." And we went back the next time, and Kev said, "Look, you know, come back again. You know, you let Duff have another session," because Duff had got, you know, Kevin to meet Thin Lizzy, and we'd gone backstage at Guns N' Roses, and you know, Kev, believe you me, I've got pictures where Kevin Nash is a smile. It was lovely to give Nashy something, because Kevin is a pretty wealthy, happy man, and he tends to be surrounded by more takers than givers. And for my mate to do something like that, you know, to be taken backstage to meet members of Guns N' Roses and Thin Lizzy, I've never seen Kevin so happy, bouncing around in the audience, singing Guns N' Roses songs till 1 in the morning. Absolutely fantastic. Duff came back, and you know what? He completely changed his ethos. Instead of fishing next to me or doing what I did, he said, "You know what? I fancy this swim." I looked and thought, I don't know why you're fishing there. And he went that time, and I think he caught a personal best mirror, he caught a personal best common, he caught a personal best leather, all in the same fishing, doing completely different tactics to what I would have done. And you know what? I was so happy for him, so pleased. And it just shows that, you know, carp fishing, it just, you know, it can make everybody's life happy.
So for people that don't know, we'll touch on the rock stuff. Duff is owner of Duff Press, who does all the PR for pretty much all the big metal bands around the world in the UK.
Yeah, he does. Duff is the PR man for Kiss, Slash, has done Guns N' Roses, Thin Lizzy, Def Leppard, Europe, Rush. All the very big bands, And it's funny, you know, talking about this, and it's, I remember all my life, I've always put an address where people can write to me. You know, you want to write to me, drop me a stamp addressed envelope, I'll answer your question, send you a DVD. And I reckon 30% of people don't include stamp addressed envelopes, but I always answer letters. So, you know, I'm getting probably, before social media really took off, 20 to 30 letters a week.
Wow.
I'm sat outside one day, I answer everyone, you know, they're all handwritten or typed or whatever, and I'm just sat outside, and this letter just drops in the post, another letter, another I thought, another question on carp fishing. And I'll never forget those words. It says, you know, I just read your recent book, Jules, seen a picture of Kiss. I don't know if you're interested, but I am the PR for XYZ, and if you ever want to meet any of them. And it was like that Moses, the sea parted. I thought, yeah, am I interested? And you know what? That was purely and simply because I put my address in a book and he could write to me. So it wasn't. I don't do this. You know, I don't send up these DVDs for any money. I don't do tuitions for money. I do it because I like to think, you know, if I can put something back into carp fishing, and it was amazing that Duff just happened to pick up Short Session Success, which had a picture of kissing. And he saw that, wrote to me, and the rest is history. We've fished together, we've been to gigs together. Absolutely incredible. You know, it's been a massive change in my life, and I can't thank him too much.
It's great, isn't it, how you just meet somebody like that. And like you say, you've done it by, it's kind of the pay it forward thing, isn't it? You've put something out there for no real gain, and then something's great, you know, has come from that. And just goes to show it's nice to be nice, isn't it? And
it is nice. It's just as hard to be nasty as it is to be nice. And I think, why can't people just be nice? People are people, aren't they? And it's, you know, not me to really judge people, but you know, Duff is one of my mates, and I watch him at these concerts. And you know, the music business is a cutthroat business. Nobody has a bad word to say about the guy. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have a bad word to say about me, but generally, I would hope not. And you know, you go to and everybody, whether they're opposite PRs, they have other bands, they're in bands, all they say is good things about the guy. And I think, yeah, it's nice to be nice, and he is the most unassuming guy. and yet is liked for just being nice. He doesn't have to be. I've never heard him say a bad thing about, even by acts that perhaps haven't done him a favour. He never has anything bad to say about them. I thought, that is, if you can't say something good about somebody, don't bother.
Don't say
that's what I try to. We all have a little gossip now and again because that's what makes the world go round. But if you can't be nice, don't bother.
I bet the internet comments kill you then, don't they? Because the internet seems to give people an outlet for all their negativity and shite they want to post.
To be honest, it doesn't bother me. I remember my dad saying years ago, the only person that you have to answer is to yourself. He says, so when you wake up in the morning, you wake up and you look in that mirror, only you know whether you're a good man or not. And somebody can say to me, if you think about it, criticism is only valid if it's real. So somebody could say to me, I think you're the most fat, skin-headed twat ever, pardon my expression.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm not that, you can just say...
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything at all. Doesn't mean anything at all. So criticism usually only hurts if there's a degree of truth in it. And we've all been subject to criticism. And when it's true, it bites a bit and it hurts, and you then change your approach. So if somebody says something to me which is true and maybe I need to rethink things I do, then that's good. I don't have a problem with criticism. But when people say stuff which just isn't true, we just laugh about it. It's just pointless. And it's in one ear, out the other ear.
Yeah, there's a difference between constructive criticism, which can be helpful, and just your internet trolls.
Yeah,
idiots.
They're by and large gone. They don't bother me at all. You get one or two people who'll have a little go, but generally I would say 99% of the carp population that I deal with are wonderful people. They're just lovely, lovely people.
Yeah, I've got some. There's one on the other end here. Great mates who are fishing, and I think it's just a society where the wrong uns stand out more, but there's so many more nice people. Yeah.
It's, you wake up in the morning, if you think negatively, the world will be negative. I just try and wake up every day with a smile on my face, whether I'm catching a 9-pounder, a 19-pounder, or a 39-pounder. I guarantee, you look at my pictures, no matter how big that carp is, the smile remains the same, which probably looks a bit like a crib off Led Zeppelin, that doesn't it, really?
The song remains the same.
That's right, yeah. So carp fishing makes me happy. If it didn't, I wouldn't do it.
It has to. I mean, the dedication you do, and we all know that you work, and you kind of work at a 9-to-5-ish job. But I mean, you're the king of the overnighters.
Well, I think maybe I am. Maybe the king. I mean, when I started, I probably started carp fishing early 80s, and like everybody else in the 80s, you went fishing at weekend. You fish weekends. And I remember as I grew up, I thought, carp fishing's great, but girls are quite interesting as well, and concerts are quite interesting as well, and things like that. So, weekends were like, do I go fishing? Do I go out with a girl? Do I on my motorbike? And it was that, bouncing between things. And then I realised that virtually all the carp in those days were being caught in the hours of darkness. So you'd catch them, I don't know, from 10 at night till 4 in the morning. And then from 4 in the morning till 10 at night was the most boring waste of time I could imagine. And I woke up one day and I thought, do you know what? I wonder if the carp realised they can actually be caught midweek. And at those days, nobody did overnighters. I cannot, people tell me they did, but certainly nobody wrote about it. And I thought, do you know what? I'll try, and I'll do a Thursday night, and, I'll have Friday off work. And I went that first time and I caught fish, and thereafter I thought, well, this is simple. I would just do overnighters after work, but it is very, very hard work. I started doing those in 86. So in 86, I was 23. We're nearly 30 years on. I'm nearly 53, and no matter how healthy you are, it is hard work. It is hard work saying, I'm going to recast that at 2:15 in the morning. Mr. Bream, that's okay, you are a fish. So, it is hard work.
Yeah, I remember my last ever overnighter. It was on Thorpe Marsh just up the road.
Yeah.
7 tench.
Yeah.
I vowed never to do any again. I was shattered.
But I think as you get older, you appreciate things. So when you start doing them and you're young, if it's not a carp, you've wasted your time. But as you get older, you actually go, I'm a carp fisherman. I'm not particularly carp catcher because I go carp fishing. And if I catch carp through my efforts, that's great. And I'm more interested in going carp fishing. I have to enjoy it. If I do not enjoy where I'm fishing, if I don't enjoy the people I'm fishing with, if I'm not happy, I can't see the point in it. So I fish places I'm happy, with companies I'm happy to be associated with. At times I'm happy to do it, and sometimes I catch and sometimes I don't catch. I give it the same effort. And if you're ever thinking about, what a waste of a night and my life's rubbish, you look what's happened to the world today. You weren't on a beach in Tunisia, you weren't being decapitated in France. And really, sometimes you have to say, do you know what? It actually wasn't a crap night, right? Was it last night? I went fishing. I made the choice. I'm now going to work to earn money. What have I got a beef about?
It must kill you for the rest of the week, though, if you do get, if you get on the shoulder bream and you're getting liners all night. No,
I'm quite cool. I need probably, I would say, maybe 5 hours of sleep a night. Even at home, I only need 5 hours of sleep a night. I'm very careful. I'm fairly healthy. I keep myself healthy. I drink loads of water. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't eat bad food. We can all laugh about it, but I tell you what, the healthier you are, the easier it is to have less sleep and to be, more determinedly efficient. So I tend not to take a load of food fishing. I tend to, drink decaffeinated coffee. I tend to eat bagels, bananas. I mean, if there's anybody there, I'll scrounge food off them. I'm the worst scrounger in the world for biscuits. But if you are what you eat. If you eat rubbish, then generally, by the time it gets to midnight and 2 a.m, you're feeling a bit grumpy. And, you eat crisps and Mars bars all day, and they'll give you a natural high, very short, but you won't want to get up at 3:15 and recast. So, you are what you eat. So, yeah, I only need a couple of hours a night. I can do 2 or 3 overnighters in a row.
Wow, 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore, even after all these years.
Yeah.
So what's in your average day in your life?
Average day in my life, let's say I'm going fishing midweek. My average day in my life is I'll wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning at home. Obviously, if I'm going fishing, I can't go on the train to work, so I'll have my breakfast at home. I'll leave home about 7ish. I'll be at work for 8. I'll work whatever my hours are. Sometimes, and you have to be determined. I can't say I'll finish court at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and it's a mental thing. If you get into your head, I need to be away from work at 4, I need to be away from work at 4, I need to be away. If you're not away at 4 and you're away at 5, your head could start playing tricks on you. Oh, well, that's it, waste of time. No point going. Every swim will be taken. And it's your mindset that's more important. So I have got it into my head that unless there's something majorly wrong, if I say I'm going fishing, I'm going fishing. Whether it's 4 o'clock I finish, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, I'll drive there. And whether there's one person there or 12 people there, I'll keep doing it, because we can all come up with reasons. I can come up with reasons not to go. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's windy, it's not windy enough. The fish are spawning, they're about to spawn, they just spawned. I can't get in the peg I want. The fish have been hammered, they're not coming out. I could come up with 1,000,001 excuses, but you don't know until you actually try. So, my average day is I'm working. I'm certainly in work for 8 to 8:15, and I might leave at 4, I might leave at 5. I won't be at the venue till 6. And if I fish all night, I'm probably not set up and cast until 7. My alarm will be set at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. I'll start packing up at 5:30, 5:45. I'll be away for 6. I'll be having a bath and getting changed for 7. Then I'm on my way to work.
That's graft.
That is graft, yeah. That is graft. And that is, that's what people say. That they all think, yeah, I could do that, I could do that. And they can't do it when they're 17, never mind 27, 37 or 47. And I couldn't do it unless I enjoyed it. If I didn't enjoy it, I couldn't do it. Believe you me, you can't do that if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah. We're on about, things playing with your mind. That's what, remember, Jamie, you used to tell me off for that, called it the wobbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mental game of fishing is as key as any of it.
I think the mental game of the mental side of fishing. I think time is the most important, because without time you can't go fishing. So time to me is the most important, but the mental game is the next one. Is absolutely. In fact, I wrote a series about it called Mind Games for Carp World probably 10 years ago, and I remember all these people were taking the mickey out of me. What do you think this has got to do with it? What's food, health, balanced life? And now they're all writing about it, vitamin tablets and this and that. And mindset is the one thing that's settled, that absolutely is your difference. If you are absolutely determined to catch, and you're absolutely determined to keep doing it, you're absolutely determined to get up in the middle of the night, mindset is the thing that you can't buy. You can buy rods, you can buy reels, you can give your job up, you can have the best bait in the world, you can sit there forever. But if you have not got that mindset that is important to you to catch, recast, to clip the tree on the cast, to spend an hour plumbing, to move in the middle of the night. If you haven't got that mindset, you can't buy mindset. You absolutely can't do it.
It's where I've seen it affect people most is on like low stock lakes where there aren't many fish, and you know, there's certain people that are just not geared up for low stock lakes. They just think it's pointless. There's fish nowhere near me. I'm never going to catch, and because of that, they don't fish properly, or they don't enjoy it even more so. And you know, and they don't want to kind of persevere because they just think this is an absolute waste of time. And I'm the opposite with low stock lakes. You know, it's just more of a challenge. It does. Maybe I'm just too used to blanking. So
I think the thing is as well, when you go fishing, you absolutely have to be clear about what you want. There are some times when you want to go, you just want to sit there, you want to chill out, you want to put the rods out there and thereabouts, you want to get a bite or two, maybe read a magazine or chat with your mates. That's great. That's not a problem. But if you are wanting to catch big fish or, you know, really lift your effort up, you have to accept that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can give 100% and get nothing. You can give 100% and get nothing. I've seen guys give 10% and get fish, and you have to keep your mind in order because that is the only way around it. You know, mind is, you know, you have to say, I don't care whether I'm going to blank because I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be back tomorrow. And I don't care if I have to get up in the middle of the night and I don't get one. If it matters to you, it's the easiest thing in the world. It's the easiest thing in the world if it matters to you. It's if it doesn't matter to you. It's clearly it clearly matters to Dave Lane, Jim Shelley, Terry Hearn to catch very, very big fish and to put themselves through what they do. Because it matters to them, I think they must do it and think, well, I don't understand what the problem is. You know, why are other people not doing this? It's because it matters to them. But you can't put your mind in somebody else's mind. You cannot teach mindset. You can talk about it, but you cannot teach it. You can't buy it. You can't sell it. It is such an important thing.
Sorry, Mike, go on.
We mentioned mindset. I've got to ask, with the amount of writing you do, when James says you're a machine, have you ever felt under pressure to catch the fish?
No, never felt under pressure to catch. The only time I ever felt pressure was it was really self-done. So this was probably in the early 90s when it was, I think I caught about 40 20s in 1 year. And I think I caught 43 1 year, and the next year I caught 45. It was something daft like that. And I remember catching this fish and looking at it, putting it back and thinking, I don't even remember what you look like other than you were number 45. And that is absolutely appalling. And I remember that was probably 93 or 94. And that was the last time I ever, I wouldn't say felt pressure, but actually fishing became a numerical thing. But no, I do not feel pressure at all. I could not give a monkey's what people think about what I've done. I need to write regularly. I enjoy writing. You know, I write stuff because I enjoy it. You know, I couldn't do this if I didn't enjoy it. You know, if you and Jamie both write, you know that if you are not inspired to write, it's the hardest thing in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got to be in the mood to do it. That's for sure. What gave you that passion? Like back in the early days. I mean, you were. I want to move on to the Carp Society in a bit because you're obviously involved.
Yeah. I've got stuff to say there.
I'm sure you have. That this show is going to feature a fair bit of the. About the Carp Society and what's going on at the minute. But I mean, you were there when it was great. I mean, I remember meeting Baz Griffiths on the bank of a lake in the southwest in the close season. He was trying to get me to come up to the fishings at Horseshoe and stuff. I mean, it was a community like when I was young, which is I'm talking like late 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is a time, you know, when I first came across you in the Carp Fisher magazine. It was like you wanted to be a member. You felt you had to be a member of the society. It was a society for the hobby that you were into.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, was it all kind of that era that gave you the passion to keep going, or?
I think the passion to keep going is my mum. Not many people know. My mum was, although she was a deaconess, think of it as a female vicar. She was one of the first female vicars, and my mum was a prolific writer. She wrote, I'll get in trouble with my sister for not remembering, but I think my mum's done either somewhere 12 or 16 books. So she was a prolific writer. She had a regular weekly column she wrote, and writing was her passion. When I was at school, I was pretty rubbish. I was in a grammar school, the problem with grammar schools, you're either one of the chosen few or you weren't. And I wasn't particularly academic. I could get C's and B's in O levels, but I wasn't seen as as a flyer. The only thing that I was particularly good at was English. I was so bad at French that I remember Madame Drain just said to me, Julian, just sit at the back, keep quiet and read Anglian Times, because you'll never be any good with French forever. Now, but the English, I found English writing dead easy. And it was something that one teacher, Eric Taylor, took interest with me. And he helped me write. He showed me how to write. And it was something that I actually found that I was good at. So when I started fishing, I actually thought, wow, I'd like to write about what I'm doing, because I read a lot of stuff, but it was really not helpful. Jack Hilton stuff and all that stuff, that was great. It was very passionate writing. But when you went on the banks, it's sort of like, well, what do I do now? What size hook? What size bait? What do I do here? And I found that, it's very hard to believe nowadays with there's so much information overload. Believe you me, in the early 80s when I first started reading, there was no information as such. There was lots of articles about carp fishing, but there was no, this is how to do it. And I thought, this is a niche market. So I thought, I'm going to actually say, use a size 6 boilie, or size 6 hooks. I actually started giving information, you want an 8-inch, hook length, and it needs to be made by such and such. So I was one of the first people to actually nail my colours to the mast and actually write instructional work. And I realised that the more I wrote, the more it was appreciated. So it was never hard work. I actually love writing. I could sit down tonight and do 2,000 words in probably an hour and a half about tonight. It was never hard, but it was a passion. And Tim Paisley was the man who probably impressed me more than anything. And he was a hard taskmaster, was Tim. He worked as hard as possible, and he expected those people he was associated with to work as well.
Where was your first article?
My first ever article in a magazine was Write to Billy Lane, and that was in Course Angler in 1978. So that was my first ever writing when I was, I think, 14 or 15, and that was in Course Angler. Then when I started fishing for specimen fish, I joined what was known then as the National Association of Specimen Groups, NASGA.
Yeah, man.
And I remember writing when I caught some nice tench from Drax in one of the magazines about tench fishing in their magazine, and it was a stapled together black and white one with maybe a photocopied colour cover. It was called Freeline in those days, and I wrote about that. And you'd write occasionally, and it was quite a buzz to see your name in print. And then NASGA became NASA, National Association of Specialist Anglers, and I started writing there. And I started writing quite regularly, and I remember reading Carp Fisher, the early Carp Fishers, which were incredible. They just were in a different league. And I remember catching a few nice carp at Drax, and I wrote a letter to Tim and said, I've written this article, and it's called Who's Kidding Who? And it was about somebody who was trying to pretend that these 19-pounders were 27-pounders. And Tim wrote back to me, and funny enough, I just showed Mark that letter tonight. And that appeared in Carp Fisher. Tim obviously thought, God, this guy can write a bit, and he's obviously a bit of a grafter. He can become he can help me. He's keen as mustard. And that's how it grew from there.
So you started off writing for Carp Fisher, and you became editor as well, didn't you? Yeah,
I became, after about a year and a half I was a real keenie, and I'd go to all the meetings. And I didn't have a car in the 80s. My dad would, run me to fishing meetings. I would select, I really shouldn't say this, but it's true. I selected girlfriends, not on attractive qualities, but did they have a car? And, I would have girlfriends who ran me to fishing meetings. That didn't really last very long, because it was clearly fishing meetings were not top of the agenda for girls' nights out. And that's how it went. And, eventually I started going to Tim's when he lived at Cemetery Road. Didn't have a car then, so I'd catch the train. There was no expenses in those days. I simply caught the train on my own, money. I would go to Tim's and we'd put Carp Fisher together. There we'd be, typing stuff up. He'd be telling me what to do. We'd be cutting bits of paper up. We'd be sticking them down. And Tim was a hard taskmaster. He is the greatest inspiration for work. But we'd work till 12 midnight, and we'd be putting Carp Fisher together. And then Tim would say, well, it's time we went to bed. So he'd go into his room. I'd sleep on the couch. 4 o'clock in the morning, the bloody line would come on. Right, Jules, back to work. Yeah. I think, what? And Tim would say, I'm inspired to write, Jules. And I think, oh, well, okay, fair enough then, so am I. And that's where it came from. Tim, absolutely, Tim Paisley was, the hardest taskmaster. He was a great giver, but tell you what, he threw that ball, and he didn't expect you to drop it. He didn't let you drop it, and obviously from there I became features editor, and then eventually became I did some editorial work for it on its own. So that I was really proud of that. It was a massively impressive moment in the mid to late 80s, I think about 88, to be appointed features editor and then joint editor with Tim. I was so proud.
And it was a much smaller community in those days, the carp scene. I guess if you're on the inside of it, it was quite a small niche, getting to hear about lakes and obviously...
It was fantastic. I mean, I was going to steering committee meetings with Tim, and, I was a guy who was, I think my best fish at the time was 24, 25 pound, which, in the 80s was a good fish. And I was going to these meetings, and I was meeting Bob Jones, I was meeting Roger Smith, I was meeting, the top guys from the day, Clive Dietrichs, Johnny Allen. I was meeting these guys, and Tim would introduce me as his friend, and they would take me in their confidence. I was taken to Savvy, I drove down to Savvy in my Golf driver. I went round there with Peter Broxup. I worked my cotton. There were no expenses. I wasn't paid for any of this. This was just, I absolutely love carp fishing. This was, although it was a job for me, it was, it wasn't a paid job. And, I got to see these places, but I would hope that, I gave back. And it was just incredible to meet heroes. They were my fishing heroes. But I do remember meeting these guys and thinking, you're not doing anything I couldn't do. You are fishing waters I don't fish. You're fishing for longer than I am doing. But at the end of the day, dumbing it down, we're all pretty similar. And I thought, yeah, I could do this. And I did.
And were you on to the latest rigs and the latest methods before everyone else?
I wouldn't say I was particularly. The guy that really formulated that was Andy Little. I met Andy through winning a crafty catcher competition, and the prize was either £50 of bait or a day's fishing with Andy Little. Now I can tell you what that's like saying, do you want 10 Thin Lizzy LPs, or do you want to spend a day with Phil Lynott back in the day? There was no comparison.
Yeah,
didn't have a car, so I caught the train from York, dressed in all my fishing gear, sat in the guards compartment with all my fishing gear. I mean, that did not look cool. Then got off the train at King's Cross, got a taxi with all my gear to, I don't know what station it was, then caught a train again. Andy met me in Aldershot, stayed overnight at his house. We went fishing at Willow Park, and then I had to do it all the way back again. And I thought I was pretty good, though. So I thought, I'm not a bad carp angler. I watched Andy fishing and thought, Jules, you're hopeless. This guy was in a different league. If I was using size 8-ups, he was using 12s.
Wow.
If I was using dental floss, he got dental floss cut in half. I was using pop-ups, he was squeezing the pop-ups so they're critically balanced. I was using bobbins, he was using the early Fox hangers, the swingers.
Yeah.
He was in a different league. And Andy, I watched him and thought, yeah, I need to up my game. And, fishing with Andy and things like that taught me that there is a different level. I watched Andy. If Andy saw a fish roll, he didn't just wind in and look in as he was winding in. He watched that fish roll. He wound in. His eyes never left the lake. As he wound in, he swung it in. He felt the point of the hook. If it was sharp, he recast where that fish had rolled. He never took his eye off the lake. He'd make me a cup of tea. His eyes never went off the lake. Whether he was fishing for 7-pounders, 17-pounders or 27-pounders, he was just as keen. He was a machine, and really, I suppose that's where I get it from. So yes, I did get advantages. I was first on the bent hook, the big hook, some of Zen and Bodco's mixes, some of the big fish mixes. But generally, I was probably the same as everybody else, but with a few. I was determined.
You just mentioned big fish, which is obviously one of Nutrabait's long-standing baits.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get onto sponsorship game, because you've been a big part of that as well. You've also been loyal to.
I was always taught loyalty. When I started, I had no sponsors. There wasn't such a thing as sponsorship, really, when I started in the 80s. And the first people that really showed an interest in me was Nutrabaits. I went to Tim Paisley's house, and he got the original bait there, which was Bengers, Davina, bodybuilding stuff, bit of casing. Nutrabaits hadn't even started then, and I remember SBS, Cornish ice cream, strawberry jam. He gave me the ingredients, and we did stuff like that. Then Nutrabaits came along, and I remember getting the first letter from Bill saying, we can't give any bait away, but we can do you them at trade. And certainly from when Nutrabait started, 1988 or 86, I'm not sure, somewhere around then, certainly until the late 2000s, I only used Nutrabaits despite many offers from numerous bait companies. I've been loyal to Nashi. Nashi was the first person who took an interest in me. Nashi took an interest in me probably late 80s when he was working for Daiwa, and he arranged a deal where I got SS3000s, the AKM Amorphous rod, not the Bitech Viper, the Daiwa Sensatron. Remember that? And Nashi was always loyal to me. Now, it's been a two-way thing. You know, I was a consultant for Nash, then Kevin wanted different consultants. He wanted the Jim Shelleys, the Terry Hearns of this world, and so I wasn't retained as a consultant. I ain't got a problem with that. It was a business thing. The thing with Kevin that I always respected, whether I was a consultant or not, we were still mates. Still got the Christmas card, still saw me, and I was still the same. I never forgot. So if somebody said, what did you catch that on? If it was when I was a Nutrabaits consultant, that's what I said. When I was a Nash consultant, that's what I said. So I've always been straight up about what I've used. You know, I don't forget the past. I read somebody's articles nowadays and think, do you not remember whose baits you were on? You know, they'll talk about seasons they've had, great years they've had at wherever, and then they'll just put pictures of their latest gear saying, I use chods for all my fishing. But yeah, you maybe did then, but what about the ingredients you used then? And, you know, I think it's a bit disingenuous for some of these guys to forget their past. I'd rather be honest and say, that's who supported me. This is who supports me now, and I would think that everybody I've been sponsored by, I've always given back more than I've taken.
Yes, we could do a whole show on loyalty and company jumping, and I mean, it's too old to be worried about those sort of things. But you know, like you say, I just smile wryly when it
works both ways. It works both ways. You've got to remember that there are companies who will drop you at the drop of a hat, and there are anglers who will drop companies at the drop of the hat. But generally, by and large, you know, we tend to stay with the same people. And I do think anglers sometimes do themselves no favours. You know, you can go from one company to another and absolutely publicise that company to death. That doesn't mean you're going to sell fishing tackle. You are simply raising the profile of that company. But what you're doing is you're simply devaluing yourself. You might add value to that company, but you are completely devaluing yourself, because they'll say, well, he would say that, wouldn't he? Because he was X last month, he's X this month. You know, it's, you know, and I think some anglers simply are recognised for the company they're in rather than their own angling ability. And I always think, you know, if you work with X, Y, or Z, you'd never be in the magazines again. Nobody had a clue who you are. You are simply there because of who you're linked with.
Yeah, and then there's a public perception, which is kind of the opposite, which is, you know, I'd catch what you got if I got free bait or unlimited this or unlimited that. And they kind of forget that, you know, you've generally, to be in a position, you know, to have a relationship with a company, you've generally done something significant of note.
For a period of years.
Yeah, for a period of time before that to get in that position. But it seems to be a life goal for a lot of young anglers these days.
But I don't know why. I mean, the days of it making a difference were, you know, Richie caught the 45-12. Everybody knew that it was on a pucker salmon boiling. You know, nowadays, it does not make any difference. I read Carp Talk, fantastic magazine. I can't remember what was on the front of the last Carp Talk. No. And I defy anybody to think what was on the front of the one before that, because it doesn't really matter. It's not going to sell tons of gear. And the guys that, you know, the guys who want to be sponsored, you know, I know the realities of sponsorship. I know what guys are getting paid or not getting paid. 90% of people will never get paid to go carp fishing, never get any money whatsoever. The best they can hope for is discount bait or discount tackle. They may then get it at trade, they then may get it at cost, and then eventually there are a few who receive bait or tackle free, and that's limited. The amount of guys who receive remuneration to go carp fishing, I would say, is 1% of the guys who get sponsorship deals, maybe even 0.5% or smaller. And I would think the amount of guys who can afford to not work and have a lifestyle that is comfortable is 0.00. I can only probably think of 2 or 3 people at the very most. And we're not talking Jags. We're not talking Bentleys. We are talking go to the Carp Society conference, go to Five Lakes, see what guys are turning up in. They ain't turning up in AMG Mercs. No. It is not football. It is not football. And that's the guys that are thinking that they're going to make a living for it. You are not going to make a living for it. If you want to go full-time because you enjoy your carp fishing, do it. But do not expect to go carp fishing because you're going to get a wag and 50 grand a year. You are not going to get that. You're going to get a munter and nothing else.
No, it's there's no money in it, you know. And the only people that do make money out of fishing are the manufacturers. And if you're going to manufacture something, that's hard graft. And
absolutely. For every firm that works, Jamie, there are loads that go under. You know, we all see Nash, Corder, Fox, people like that, Guard, you know. But for every one of those, there are hundreds that just bite the dust, having remortgaged their houses, given up the jobs, and gone to the wall. You know, it's not an easy world out there.
No, and if you're in the manufacturing game, you could be manufacturing anything, but you're not going to have the time to fish that you want. You know, the fact that you're making plastic bits of terminal tackle is, you know, you could be making anything.
Absolutely.
It's not the dream of working in the fishing industry.
No, I always had the dream. Never wanted to make a living from carp fishing. I always just wanted to think that I'd given something back. I've got a nice job. I enjoy what I do, and I thought, I want to give something back to carp fishing. I want to earn some money from it and have a nice few things. But it was never my dream to give up work to become a full-time angler, because I meet all these people who have, and nobody seems to enjoy it anymore. They say I can't go fishing enough. I never wanted to be in that position. I've never woke up and thought it's a job ever.
How have you seen the industry change through this sort of 25 years? I mean, you've been kind of involved in the industry from the off, it seems, with from Tim Paisley taking you under his wing early doors. I mean, what are the biggest things you've seen change?
I think the biggest thing is the sheer amount of smaller companies that come in. In the olden days, you could literally name the big 6 bait companies, you could name the big 6 tackle companies, and they had the market to themselves, no doubt about it. Nowadays, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of bait manufacturers. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of tackle manufacturers, many reproducing exactly the same thing. And I ain't got a problem with that, because that's the way the world is. So what I've seen is that many companies are, if you're not growing, you're going backwards. There are some companies, there are probably 3 or 4 or maybe 5 who are very, very strong. But there's this huge, it's like an iceberg, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath that, there are so many companies that have dropped away, and there are thousands that are just eking a living out of garages that are nibbling away at everybody else's profits, margins, whatever, you know. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not here to judge. You know, people are scratching a living from it. But, you know, that's up to them. I have seen it change. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. What Nash, Fox, Corder and people like that do, they have made carp fishing sexy. When I went carp fishing, it was not sexy. It was seen as a bit of an old man's game that you moved into. But, you know, since carp fishing's been on telly, the front of Angling Times, it is now seen as the thing it's trendy to do. And that's great. You know, it's great for kids to want to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to push that genie back in the box. You are not going to get kids to say, I want to catch a 2-ounce roach or a 4-ounce roach. You're not going to ever do that. That's never going to happen.
No, I mean, carp fishing's become the entry-level fishing, which we kind of used to look down on, saying you're going to be a better angler if you've learned to fit, you know, float fish, quiver tip, ledger, whatever. But I think nowadays, carp fishing's exciting. The reason why when we hooked our first carp, didn't want to do anything else other than carp fish, you know, we can't take that away from people coming into the sport. The sport's big now. It's worth something like 1.5 billion a year in the UK economy, which is ridiculous. I mean, those half a dozen bait companies and half a dozen tackle companies, you know, in the 80s and 90s, I wouldn't have thought they were turning over a few $100,000 between them.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Back then, so I mean, it's obviously a good thing. The bigger it gets, and like I say, it's kind of cool. I do still get non-anglers saying, "Why is everybody on my Facebook profile pictures have a fish in the picture. They're like, it's so common now that, you know, non-anglers are saying, hey, all the guys on my Facebook have got a fish. They're holding a fish.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think if you go in as a carp, if you go in and just fish for carp, then you will become probably a good carp angler, because that's all you know. I don't think it makes you a good angler. I think I think people get this mixed up. These are totally different things. If you want to become a good angler, I think you need to have a grounding in, as I did, tench fishing, roach fishing, pike fishing, bream fishing, eel fishing. That makes you a good angler, because you appreciate other things. But I don't think that necessarily makes you a good carp angler. I think you can become a good carp angler simply by just going carp fishing from day one. There are many of our lads who you see in the magazine now are exceptional carp anglers, but that's what they are. They are exceptional carp anglers. They're not exceptional anglers. You know, exceptional anglers. Brian Scores, met him this weekend. He is an exceptional angler. He catches carp, perch, pike. He is what I would say an exceptional angler, because he had groundings in fishing. I'm a good angler. Brian's an exceptional angler. There are people who can fish me off the planet with carp fishing, but would be useless as an angler. But hey, that's the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly a good thing that it's getting more popular, and like I say, if people are enjoying it, then, you know, let them pick up a carp rod as the first rod. If they get that bug and they're hooked for life, and, you know, it adds goodness to their life, then happy days, you know.
The industry's better for carp fishing. It has made, you know, let's be honest, you know, match fishing, general fishing, things like that. I'm not sure that carp fishing has killed them. I think the world in general has not, you know, the advent of social media, of all the games. Remember, it's competing against a lot of things. And if somebody kid is saying, right, what is more sexy? Is it going on your Game Boy? Is it catching a 2-ounce roach set on the canal? Or is it catching a 12-pound carp? You are more likely to retain a kid who's catching 12-pound carp, who sees it on the telly, who's got exciting magazines, than somebody who's sat on a canal catching 2 or 3-ounce roach. You know, I'm not saying what's right or wrong. You are more likely to keep somebody on that carp side of things than you are on the smaller side of things.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing, and it's. I mean, is that the only way you've seen it evolve? The kind of.
I've seen it evolve in many other ways. I've seen it. The numbers of people. It's just been incredible, isn't it? It's just taken over. The quality of tackle. You know, I've got a couple of friends, and I'm not going to say the names, and all they do is moan. And I think, well, I don't know why you're moaning, because number one, you've made a living out of it. Number two, your bed chair never creaks anymore. You're not ending up with backache. Your line never snaps. Your hooks never fail. Your bait, you never have to worry that it might blow. You know, your leads are perfect. Your rods will cast 140 yards. Your reels don't seize up. So it's very easy to be romantic. But the reality is that, yeah, you know, I'd love it to be where we are, but there's to be only 6,000 of us doing it. But you can't have it both ways. You know, we are where we are. And I think it's absolutely great. If I didn't like it, you know, either what they say about America, love it or leave it. You know, if you don't like carp fishing, don't do it. Do something else.
No, there's nothing worse than I mean, considering you are an old school angler yourself, you've got a modern outlook to it.
Yeah.
And you know, I know a lot of people who are, you know, older than me when I was young, and now they hate the current carp scene. They don't like it. They actively put it down, and I don't know. You got to move with the times. You know, this is being bitter about everything changes. You know, the world.
What was worse? Is it people now being genuinely excited about the fishing, putting on social media, or what about the guys who told you lies, never told you anything, wouldn't speak to you, hid everything, wouldn't give you the time of day? You know, I think it's easy sometimes to forget where you've come from. And I think some of these guys who are critical and say it was better in the past, you know, if you think about it, and this is one of the things I always say, we can say now, oh yeah, it was better in 2005. When it gets to 2020, I bet you people are saying, well, it was better when it was 2015. It's easy to look back with rose-coloured spectacles. Yeah, I loved it. I was very innocent when I first started. I was 23. You know, I didn't have my own home to maintain. I didn't have the responsibilities. Of course it was better. Of course it was more exciting. But everything was. I won't talk about the things that were. They were really exciting in those days. I thought I was the best in the world at doing it. And I realised I wasn't.
So when did you stop becoming involved with the Carp Society?
Well, to be fair, I was involved with Carp Fisher probably until it ceased to be a magazine. So I was involved. In fact, I was involved with the Carp Society that I talked last year with Richie McDonald. I was one of the two main speakers at Sandown. I talked with Richie McDonald. You said that to me in 1983. By the way, Jules, you'll be headlining the Carp Society show with Richie McDonald. I would have said, yeah, right, I'll have some of that stuff you're smoking. So yeah, I was involved with the Carp Society, certainly until last year. I was a member of, I was the editor of Carp Fisher, certainly until Paul Selman, until this ceased to be a magazine. It became an in-house magazine, didn't it? Was it published once or twice a year? Even then I wrote for it. Whenever there was a colour magazine, I wrote for the Carp Society. But I would say my active involvement ended probably about 15 years ago. But, the slideshows, things like that, I've never stopped.
And with recent developments in the Carp Society with regards to Horseshoe Lake and all the stuff you see going on at the minute, the lack of members, what are your views on it, as somebody that's been involved from the start?
Very sad, very sad. When I started with the Carp Society, I was unpaid editorial, and that's the way it was. The only time I ever got paid for any editorial was, I think, when Paul Selman took it over as the editor. It became a professional magazine under Layman Publications, and I got paid, I have absolutely no idea, maybe £500 a year for doing 6 mags, nothing. It was just literally a token of appreciation for effort. Every slideshow I've ever done for the Carp Society, and I would say that's well over 100, never been paid a penny. The only thing I've ever asked for is my expenses. 50 quid of fuel, 30 quid of fuel, 2 glasses of orange juice, 2 packets of crisps, what? Sounds like a film on telly, doesn't it? So I always did it for free, purely and simply because in the olden days, I used to watch Roger Smith, Bob Jones, Richie McDonald, Greg Fletcher, all those guys doing slideshows. And what I thought? In years to come, I'll put something back as well. And, I was proud to be asked to do these slideshows. And I've got to remember that, a lot of these people are now critical of the Carp Society who ran regions. I'm not daft. I knew that we get 100 people to see me talking, 200 people to see me talking. I got no fee. But I know all those went out for an engine on the Carp Society. There's a lot of people who are critical of the Carp Society who had many good boozy nights, many good engines on the back of the Carp Society, and that's what happens. But, I think people need to be very careful before they start being critical about some aspects of the Carp Society. I'm very sad that, that they had 6,000 members once, and it was a great organisation to be with. I went down to Horseshoe Lake, did many a junior fishing. Again, there was no expenses. That was, my day off. It's a long way down there. I did it because I believed in it was, giving something back to the youngsters. And I do think that if, at the end of the day, people who've been remunerated for working for the Carp Society are then going to get paid a huge payoff, I think that's wrong, personally. I don't know the situation, but I think that's wrong. It would be, I'm not sure when those people weren't at the start of the Carp Society. I think, where do you draw the line? Do you not say, well, people who came up with the horseshoe idea in the first place, people like Mike Cavan and people like that who worked their socks off to get Horseshoe Lake, why are they not being remunerated? People have been paid for being directors or governors or whatever the Carp Society, and they got a good salary, and yet they potentially, if it's true, are going to make a big wedge out of it. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I don't like it just feels uncomfortable to me, that.
There's something not quite right going on. I mean, we are going to go into it in more detail on the show. I've been kind of filled in as much as I can of what's been going on, but it reading between the lines, and it's all being denied at the minute. But if the plans are to remove the membership, I mean, I believe they've got 11 members now. 7 of them are on the board.
I mean, I do know that they made it very difficult for people to become members, which seems very daft unless you've got a long-term plan. It may be they never actively promoted membership, they never wanted people, or they didn't seem to particularly want people to be members. Now, I cannot understand that. Only they know the answer why they didn't want members. Maybe the answer's staring us in the face. I don't know.
They used to want members. I remember fishing Horseshoe in recent years on a day ticket and being forced to buy a membership just to fish the lake, which seemed a bit daft, but they're obviously making money by doing that, and then all of a sudden they've trebled the price of the membership and they actively discouraging you to join.
That is what they have to answer then, isn't it? Why do you actively discourage membership? And if this goes down the court, if this goes down the court line, I know how the law works. These things don't get settled overnight. These kind of things don't get dealt with in magistrates' court or county courts. This is big stuff. This is a huge drain on people's finances, and a huge drain. It don't get settled overnight. If this thing goes to court, it ain't going to be dealt with at your local court. This is going to be in the High Court.
Yeah, and whether the rumours are true or not, let's assume it's been discussed that maybe they were going to sell the assets, split the money, or find a way of splitting the money legally between. I mean, these people don't deserve it. I mean, the Carp Society was for all carp anglers back in the day. It was for, you felt you wanted to be a member of it. I applied to be a member when I was 14 years old. I sent them a letter telling them, listing all the fish that I'd caught that year. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be a part of this society that was in my hobby and the thing that I loved. And we all own a little part of that. Yeah. And for a group of directors now that probably weren't even members themselves back then when I was a member, wanting to maybe, I've, Lord knows what it's been valued at, 1.7 million or something, to be divvying that up between a dozen people, it just doesn't seem right.
Oh, well, I hope it's not. I genuinely hope it's not true. I've dealing with David Mannell for many, many years. I can only say I found him a lovely bloke. So I genuinely hope it's not true. And if it is true, I don't think it's right. I'd love to hear the argument. And if there is an argument, it will be dealt with in court, and that will drain a lot of people's money. And there'll be a lot of people who can, you can have barristers tell you what you want to hear. They'll be brave with your money. But at the end of the day, if you lose your case, they will want their fee. And it's it's a cash cow. And I genuinely hope for the Carp Society that it isn't true, and that when I see David Mannell at the next do, as I go to every do, it isn't true, and we just have the usual great day that we do, But there again, I'm sure these things rumble on.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've officially denied that it's up for sale on the website, so now it's in the open. I'm presuming they're not going to be able to sell it in the anytime soon.
I hope so.
But then how much motivation if that was on the agenda at one point, what's going to happen to Horseshoe in the fact that it's probably been really well run at the minute, but if the powers that be above aren't particularly interested because they saw it as a nice little retirement fund or something, then
it's a lovely lake. I mean, it's I've been there many fishings, and what a stunning place that is. And I have to say, people like Paul Boychott and people like that, they were so passionate about it, and David was passionate about it, and it was just one of those wonderful places that I think, why isn't this 12 miles from my house? What a wonderfully run place, and the effort that went into those Carp Society junior fishings was fantastic. That's why I give my Saturdays up and drive down, a long way, on days off, because I thought, this is great what it's doing for carp fishing. And as I say, the Carp Society have always been good to me, and I genuinely hope it's not true, and that, in November or December when the next conferences, we're all just thinking, well, it was one of these rumours. It'd be like a rumour me opening wallet. It's just one of those rumours that was never found to be true.
You and half of Yorkshire.
Yeah.
That was more than half.
You got some questions, Mark? You're going to crack on?
I think we've covered most of my notes, to be honest.
Yeah, we've done an hour and 10 minutes, which is generally about an hour we go for, so we're
cool.
Comfortably over that. Is there anything you need to get off your chest, Jules?
No, I think I've covered all the things. that I wanted to cover. That's come up. I've talked about the sponsorship and things like that. I've talked about I would hope that I give people a sense of reality. I pick up the magazines, and even as a long-standing carp fisherman, it is kind of easy to be demoralised and get out of sync with things. And you think, whoa, just a minute. What is the real story behind those catches? What is the real story behind those heroic 30s, 40s and 50s? the problem with that is they never appear in print. You never get the full story. You never get the full story about these things. All you get is a picture, some words. It might say he dropped in and caught this. It won't say it was his 5th night in a row or his fourth year on the. And I do think with carp fishing, it is very easy to get the total wrong end of the stick. And I think a lot of guys give up carp fishing because they think, wow, what am I doing wrong? And this isn't for me. The reality is, by all means, be inspired by it, but don't have don't have the waters muddied and clouded. I love looking at people with pictures of fish, but I don't when I go and catch me 15-pounders or catch me 25-pounders and the 35-pounders, think that I'm getting it wrong and what the hell. It's just we have good years, we have bad years, we have good seasons, we have bad seasons. I know very, very good anglers who've had bad years, who've had bad 2 years. And the trick is to keep up in it. It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up. And that's the hardest thing, mindset.
Exactly. Yeah, I can name many examples of without going into details, what you just said. The story behind the story is never quite what it's painted out to be.
No.
What's your favourite biscuit in a brew?
My favourite biscuit, of course, would be a chocolate digestive, but being one of these boring people, you're not going to believe it, I have ginger biscuits, as Mark will say, less calories, good for you. That's what happens when you get old. You start looking at your body and thinking, how can I improve this? Because, nature's not been kind to me.
I don't know. I've seen you with face masks and your hair's finally manicured on a daily basis. My hair was as long as yours. It fell out quite some time ago. So
the trick to that, mate, is not to get married.
I'm working on that.
Well done, mate. Yeah, maybe it'll grow back then.
Never know. Well, we'd like to say thank you. Thanks for being a great guest.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking the time out to talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely honoured, mate. As me and Tim have always said this, Tim and me go, whenever we get asked to write an article, a book, a chapter, do an interview, do a slideshow, I always go, what, me? I still don't take it for granted. And, when somebody wants me to talk, I'll go, yeah, I'll come and do a talk. I'm still... the guy who was 16 who was, watching the slideshows, I'm still excited by it all. I really genuinely am. And I hope that, conveys to everyone who listens to this.
It's definitely come across, and it's a pleasure to speak to you, and a pleasure to speak to somebody so upbeat about the whole industry and life in general.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Jules.
Yeah, cheers.
So a big thank you to Julian. He's an ambassador of carp fishing in this country, and an all-round nice guy. Always happy, always positive, and